Okay, we're all set up for recording. So you want to take it away, and I don't know how you want to tackle the questions, or maybe give a little intro.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And, if you didn't record, we just have to do it again, I guess. But I'm really liking this, not going to lie. So, no, I'm just honored to be on here. And I'm sure most of you know this. However, just talking to Kim briefly at the event and getting to know her and hear a lot from Ray about what's going on with the team. I mean, she truly cares about you and your success and this team and the growth. And I think it's so awesome when a leader decides to invest their time and their money to go outside of themselves and find resources and help to get them to that next level, but also to get the team to that next level. It's truly a unique characteristic within a leader. So I just hope that you guys realize that it's very few and far between, and that you thank her for doing that and for the amazing leader that she is. And again, I'm just really excited to be here. A little background about me. Personally, I built most of my business off of social media when I was 21 years old. And I had really no warm market, no previous business experience, very young, so nobody really took me seriously. And back then, the only avenue that I really had was warm market, like belly to belly, which is great. However, when you're 21 years old and you don't know anybody, it can be tough. And so I started there, and it was a great learning experience for me. I got laughed at. I got, told by my friends' parents, which were the first people I went to being young and in college. I'm like, their parents have money. Let me talk to them. I went to my friends' parents and talked to all them. And usually I got oh, you're so cute, honey, or, oh, good for you, trying to build a business. That's awesome. And it just made me feel even worse about what I was doing. It was demeaning and all that. But at the end of the day, I knew that if I stuck it out with my degree, which was in marketing, I would probably have made it happen and become slightly successful. However, I'd be working for somebody else, and it wasn't really what resonated with me. Every interview I went on, people said, oh, we're going to start you at minimum wage, and then in 10 years, you may have the opportunity to get a raise. And so that wasn't okay for me. I didn't realize that was what it was like out there. And so I just kept going with it, and I found social media. And I found some people that were building like traditional businesses on social media, because back in the day, Facebook and all those social media platforms were not that big and that hot for building businesses. And so I thought to myself, well, if they can build a traditional business, I wonder if I can do this. It's just sales, right? So first 6 months of my business, didn't sign up a single person, was talking to tons of people every single day. Finally signed up my first person. And from there, in 12 months, had my first $10,000 month. And then after that, another 6 months, became the top female income earner of that company. And then, as Kim had mentioned, we've since sold our positions and in network marketing and just coach and train full time, my husband and I. But, the reason that I think a lot of people can relate to my trainings and Ray's, of course, is because we've been there, we've done it. And me specifically, I've done it to the degree of had no business clout or anything whatsoever, and did it literally from scratch, just prospecting people and talking to people on social media. Not even really, there was some marketing involved for sure, meaning I was doing some videos and trying to get people to reach out to me. Absolutely. But it was really just straight hustle and reaching out to people and finding a way to have those conversations where I could take somebody from completely ice cold to warm and then red hot, and then eventually get them into my business. And it's funny, as I say this, I was thinking about this the other day. 4 or 5 days ago, I had somebody actually screenshotted it. I should show it to you guys. But 4 or 5 days ago, I had somebody reach out to me asking if they could join my gold and silver business, which was the business that I literally built 11 years ago. And they had said, oh, I'm not pregnant anymore. It's the right time for me. And you had reached out to me about, this business. And I was wondering if I could join you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, that's awesome, but is there anything else I can help you with? Because I don't do that business anymore. So it just goes to show the power of reaching out to people every single day. You never know when somebody is going to be ready to pull the trigger and join. So that being said, I wanted to chat with you guys a little bit about some of the things that Kim said were hot buttons for you guys and things that maybe you wanted to improve on. And one of them is goal setting. And there's so many different ways that you can create your own goals and write down what you want to accomplish in the next 30 days, 60 days, a year. But the way that Ray and I have found it to be really most effective is to almost reverse engineer where you want to go. And so it's really hard, at least for me, and we even do this with our company, it's really hard to look at a goal a year down the road and say, I want to hit that, and then just go, right? And there's visualization and all of that and affirmations, and those are all great to look at that and say, hey, I want to hit, superstar maker rank or whatever that is. But if you don't break that down into exactly what that means, you're going to struggle on a daily basis, which is what really counts, right? So what we even do with our company is we sit down and we have quarterly meetings and we come up with quarterly goals, which means in the next 90 days, what is our goal? What is the measure that we want to hit? So the leading measure, aka do we want to hit 20,000 rank makers or whatever that means to us. For you guys, that would be, do I want to hit this rank? Do I want to get this many people? Do I want to have this many people who are rank advancing or have at least enrolled one customer? Whatever that goal means to you. Do I want to create a story and lose, 50 pounds? What does that mean? So you look at your quarterly goals and then you simply just reverse engineer them into what that daily and weekly action step is going to be. And I did this building our network marketing business as well. I looked at, okay, my next rank is 300 people. And so if I want to get 300 people, knowing my current closing percentage, knowing how many people I'm reaching out to and how many I'm bringing into my business, what do I need to do each and every day and each and every week to fulfill that? And for those of you who are rank makers, we talk about this a lot, and we have that weekly activity tracker for a reason, because it's much easier to boil down to what are the daily and weekly activities that I'm doing. And then eventually you can't help but hit that big goal because you've been doing the activity, which is what really matters. The vision is fantastic, but if you don't back it up with the actions, obviously that's not going to happen. So if I had 300 people to reach that next rank advancement, I'd look at that and say, okay, so I know that I'm reaching out to roughly 200 to 350 people a week. I was reaching out to 30 to 50 people every single day, 30 to 50 people. So if I'm reaching out to, 200 to 300 a week, then, and I'm enrolling 30 people every 6 months or whatever that number was. Well, I know that I need to ramp that up. If I want 300 people in this business, I need to ramp that up to, double or triple that so that I can hit that every single day to know in 6 months, this is exactly where I'm going to be. And it's amazing when you come up with those specific daily goals. It's amazing at how on point you can actually be about your business and your vision goals. That being said, a lot of people in network marketing, they look at a rank goal and they say, I want to get to XYZ rank in the next 90 days. but they base it off the production of others. Okay, so they say, okay, well, I need 300 people. So if I enroll 30 and they all enroll 10, fantastic. I'm going to hit that 300 person goal. Well, not really, because you should base your goal on all of your own production, and then you can't help but hit that goal. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'll, as I go through these topics, I'll take questions after, and don't worry about it, I'll stick around for some Q&A. But we always hit our goals as if we are the only ones producing. So if now, as you get to bigger ranks, right, you need to get to 10,000 people or whatever. Obviously, that's not humanly possible. But especially in the beginning with these smaller ranks or these smaller goals, you have to think about it as if you are the only one bringing people into your team. You're the only one who is doing anything, because you know what? For a lot of people, for the first year of their business, that's all that's going to happen is you're going to have people come in, you're going to have people go out. You're going to have people come in, you're going to have people go out. And that's very, very typical until you get momentum and you get the right culture built in like Kim has, and you get the right systems in place. So just know that that is par for the course. That's going to happen. So you want to base all of your goals 100% on your own production. And then, hey, if you get a leader or you get somebody who goes out there and just crushes it, or you have a team of people that's doing a little bit each and every week and enrolling a little bit, that's fantastic and that's just gravy. But if you base it on your sole production alone, you won't be disappointed in the end. And really, when you set a goal and you're just setting yourself up for disappointment, you're not going to keep setting goals. You're going to keep getting disappointed, and the next 90 days, you're not going to do what you said you were going to do. And then within a year, you're quitting this amazing business that you started with all these amazing goals and dreams because you didn't do what you said you were going to do, and you're letting yourself down. So if you have big goals, that's how I would structure it. If you have like, hey, I just want to make an extra $500 a month, or I just want to be able to pay my utility bill, then you structure it that way and you start there. You don't need to start with, I want to be the top level of the company. That's a great long-term goal, but I would start with the short-term goals, the next step for you. What does that look like? And how do I reverse engineer that? Maybe that's talking to 10 people a day. Maybe that's doing one meeting a week. Maybe that's training one person in your downline a day. Whatever that means to you, just break that down daily. So I have, let's see, we have like 4 more topics here. Kim, do you want me to take questions around that right now, or do you want me to just go through a bunch of other things and then at the end take some questions?
Maybe if we just pause at each one, and then, because if we don't get to like all of them, I mean, that's fine too, because I think the first couple two are the heavy ones. And I think while it's fresh in people's, does anyone have any questions for Jessica around that? I mean, for me, the powerful thing, and I haven't heard it in a while, and I was like, oh, it makes so much sense. And with working with Ray, he's like, 80% of your time should really be spent on your own personal production, right? And if you're doing less than that, it's kind of like management mode sets in. And it's to me, that's very empowering to know that we control our own activity and our, like you said, everything else that the team does. It's just that's just extra. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Totally.
But like if I'm gonna hit a certain goal, then that's my responsibility to do that work to get there.
Absolutely.
Does anyone have any questions or comments around that?
I would just comment on it. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm really excited to have you. So just flipping that back at you with, focusing on your own and moving forward, what type of work did you do with your team, and what did you limit with your team?
Great question. So we did weekly calls. We did weekly trainings. We would do 3-way calls. However, as the team grew, we would limit that to the people who were actually showing up and the people who were producing at a certain level, because there comes a point where now let me preface. So I'm sure you've heard Ray talk about how, it doesn't matter what desire level someone has, you want them to feel fantastic in your team. And so we wouldn't limit our calls or our video trainings or anything like that unless it was a contest to certain people. We would allow everybody to come in no matter what they were doing. And we'd even highlight some of those stories of the people who, just got their first person or had a great story with the product for a while and had been in the company for a long time. So we didn't exclude them, but as far as our personal time, we would really only work with the people who are producing. And that didn't mean rank. So there are people, I'm sure, in your company or that you've seen in other companies or in the past that have hit a rank and stayed there for years and haven't produced anything. So if they're just sitting at the top, not doing anything, hey, good for them. They got there. That's awesome. They put in the work. Fantastic. But if they're not doing the producing that we want to see, then maybe we're not going to do like a bunch of three-way calls with them for somebody who is working there versus somebody who's working their butt off and maybe isn't at that rank, but is putting people in every single week and going through those motions. So that's kind of how we divided our time. And then did the weekly calls and the weekly trainings. We had a very good online system set up as well, of like a training video system for people. So everybody got the tools and the equipment that they needed to succeed. It's the ones who actually took it and were producing that we spent the most time with, if that makes sense. We still did that, and there was still plenty of time for us to personally go out and sponsor the people that we needed to sponsor to hit those goals. So it really wasn't if we do this, we can't do that. It wasn't an or, it was an and. And we had enough time to do that because we set it up in the right way and were very cognizant of our time. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Good. Do you want to pop to the next question? The next topic?
Sure. So I love this topic because I'm so in the thick of it right now. But Kim asked me to talk about growing a business while having kids. And for me, it was a huge shock at how much time you actually have on your hands before you have children.
And I think the and one to Jessica, just because there's some people on the line, and I think it's the same thing, or they have a career, right? So there's some people on the line that have a full-time career. So it's kind of the same. You're either you're a mom or the career. So how do you manage building a side business while your time is needed other places?
Absolutely. And really, we've seen people thrive more who are busier. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but the people who are busier don't have time to sit around and sharpen their pencils or think about what their next plan of attack is. Mm-hmm. The people who have an hour a day to get their work in, which is most people. Like, let's be honest, most people are busy. Most people, not all, but most people have kids. They have a job. They have things going on in their life. They've got sick family members. They've got, personal issues that they have to deal with. Or maybe they have health issues themselves. And so they have that hour within the day, and they're tired and they're burnt out, but they make it happen because they know that if they don't do it at this time, they're not going to be able to do it. And so some people let that take them out of the game, and some people use it as a reason to fuel them and get their stuff done. People who have all the time in the world, who are just sitting around, and some leave their jobs to do this full time, which we really don't recommend until you're supplementing your income. But some people just do that, and sometimes it works out. But a lot of times what happens is they go from having no time to all the time in the world, and they can't manage it properly. But there are things that you can do if you're the person sitting there saying, I am so busy, my head is spinning, and I don't know what I'm going to do. there are many things that you can do to make this an easier journey for you. And just, I want you to understand that it doesn't mean that you're doomed to fail. It actually is quite the opposite. There's more people that build this business that are super busy than are not. So what are some of the things you can do? Lunch breaks. Okay, so we had a lot of people in our team. We have a lot of clients that build their businesses during their lunch break. And that's it. And there's this misconception, I think, out there that you have to work 16 hours a day to make this business supplement your income. That is not the case at all. Okay, there may be stretches of that. There may be, periods of that at times. But if you just work this part-time consistently and do what you have to do every day, you can build a serious, amazing, humongous income. But the people that don't show up, the people that show up for 16 hours one day and then they don't show up for 4 weeks, those are the ones who don't build a business. But if you have a lunch break, or you have, a sister or a mother-in-law or somebody that can watch your kids during the times that you have to focus, even if it's just for an hour, you can build this business. And I want to talk specifically to the moms for a second, because we do feel so guilty at times for splitting our focus or wanting to take time away from the kids to go build the business, or vice versa. When we're with the kids, we feel guilty that we're not doing the business. And when we're doing the business, we feel guilty that we're not with the kids. And at the end of the day, what's really helped me, and what I know has helped a lot of other women, is making sure that you make a priority for 2 things. One is you have quality time for at least an hour with your children. That means if they're young, you're playing with them, or you're, doing story time or whatever, but it is uninterrupted quality time with your children for at least 1 hour. Or it is, if they're older, maybe you're going to their soccer game, or you're helping them with their homework, or whatever that means to you. It's not watching TV. It's an hour of quality time. You take them to dinner. And sorry, my voice is getting a little hoarse. We've had some stuff going around. Speaking of kids, they're like little petri dishes. So we've always got something. So if you accomplish that first step of 1 hour of quality time with your family, you'd be amazed at how much less guilty you feel when now you spend an hour of quality time with your business. And that means that you are totally uninterrupted. Your kids, they don't feel like they're being robbed of you, because you've already spent that time with them. I recommend doing that first if you can. They don't feel robbed of that time with you. And you don't feel bad or guilty asking them for that time, because you've already put in that time with them. Or if you've been doing that every week and you just need that day to really focus on your business, hey, you've put in your time with your kids this week. It's time to focus on you. And you know what? They take that and they remember that in their future life. They remember how you were. They remember how you showed up in your business. They remember that, hey, mommy played with me, but she also, she showed up great in her business life, in her career. Her whole life wasn't just to play with me. And if that is your whole life, that's great. But I'm guessing if you're on this call, that's not your whole intention at this moment in time. We all go through, ebbs and flows and different circumstances in our life, like I am right now, right? But right now you're on this call because you want a contest, because you want something more. And so it's a great idea to make those 2 things a major priority and get help. Help doesn't have to cost monetarily. Okay. And if you don't have kids, you still should get help. You should get help for your laundry. There are meal delivery services now that cost less than going to the store yourself. Seriously. And you can get that all pre-made and sent to your home, so you don't have to bother with it. There is grocery delivery services. I mean, there is every reason on the planet in this moment in time right now for busy people to succeed in their business, because even 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, there weren't the options that you have today to get the help that you need to make that time fit into your schedule to build. And so really, I don't think the issue is people knowing that they need help. I think the issue is people believing that they deserve that help. You have to back up. When you get that help, you have to back it up. You have to put your money where your mouth is and go to work, right? Otherwise, you're not going to trust yourself. You're going to just kind of feed into the whole story you've been telling yourself the entire time, which is, oh, well, I don't think I can afford this help, or I can't pay for this help because, it's my business isn't going to grow as fast as it should. And I don't know if I'm going to do the work and da, da, da. You just feed right into that story that you've been telling yourself and feed right into that guilt. You have to back it up. And when you back it up and you do what you're supposed to do, you realize that your time is so much more valuable than doing the laundry. And I love, Ray actually helped me realize this with specifically laundry is I was like, well, no, I need to do that. No, I didn't want to be a diva, right? I didn't want to get, people to think differently of me because I have somebody doing my laundry. And he's like, your kids are never going to remember who folded their socks. They're going to remember who was at their baseball games, who was at their ballet practices. They're going to remember those important things, but they're never going to remember those things. And nobody cares. Why are you torturing yourself? So it is so inexpensive these days to get help, however you need it. So my action step and recommendation for you is to write down the things that are taking away from your life right now, that are just either energy suckers or time suckers, or things that you know that you can implement tomorrow and get off your plate. And write those things down and just go do some research. You can get, like I said, you can get such inexpensive help. You can get such inexpensive meals these days, but also, maybe ask a friend to trade. I have friends that are building businesses right now. They're building network marketing companies, and they actually, they don't have all the money in the world, but they trade time. So they each have kids. And so one of the families takes their kids, Wednesdays and Fridays after school, and the other family takes the other family's kids Mondays and Tuesdays so that they can do their work. And so they do a trade. Do you have a family member? A lot of times you have somebody in your life, you just haven't been bold enough to ask. And all it takes is asking and seeing what value you can provide to them, whether it's monetarily or something that you can do for them to make them feel special and that you appreciate the help. So any questions around that? Boom, awesome. Okay.
And if you have questions along the way too, and I know some of you are muted because you have stuff going on, you can toss them in the chat too, and I can always bring them up.
Cool. So the next topic that you mentioned was prospecting by phone or versus messenger or text. And can you elaborate on exactly what that?
I will. Well, this one came up because I think that when we think of, so when I started my business and when there's a lot of people on the line started our businesses, we didn't really have social media, and it was a lot of belly to belly and phone to phone. And so it was just picking up the phone and talking to people or leaving messages. And then we got into texting, and then we got into Facebook messaging. And I'm not sure if I heard it right from Ray on one of our Voxer trainings back and forth, but I think he mentioned something that you built a lot of your business early on by the phone. Did you do phone work? Maybe I misheard. Regardless if you did or didn't, I'd be curious because I feel like for a lot of us, I'll speak for myself. I still love the phone and I still love talking to people. And I'm just wondering where that balance is between the, following the scripts, but then getting them, to getting them quickly, to having those conversations and building the relationships and what's effective, especially with where we're saying condensing the time down to the hour a day.
Yeah, I definitely think that the phone is still a great place. There are many people who are transitioning away from that these days and are still building humongous businesses. However, if somebody is, in my opinion, still today, if somebody is really serious about building a business, they will want to talk to you on the phone because they're going to want to know what this entails and who they're working with and really get to know you. If they're just a customer, that's a little different, or just somebody who, isn't really that serious but wants to give the products a shot and maybe do the business, that's a little different. I always, I would say 95% of the time I got somebody on the phone before I signed them up into my business because I was using social media, and people want to know that you're real and they want to know that there's somebody who cares on the other line. And so most of my prospecting was done for the business, although occasionally I did do the product, but most of my prospecting was done for the business. And so that's not right or wrong. It was just the nature of our business that we were in. And so I really liked getting on the phone. But again, if you're prospecting for the product, there are a lot of people that, especially today, that, they want to try the products and they just do it through Messenger, or they, here's the distinction that needs to be made though, is you can't just automate it. It's not something where you can just have, a bazillion people until, if this is the route that you take, until you really grow like an audience of people that know you on social media, let's say. You can't automate people joining your business or buying the product. You have to talk to people, and I highly recommend talking to the individual versus just like mass messaging or sending out the same message to each and every person. You can send out the same concept or the same idea, but really talk to the individual and find out what they're looking for and then cater it to them. That's where I saw most of my success. Is I had people that had been prospected by hundreds of people before me. And because I really didn't care whether they joined or not, and I really reached out to them looking for a way that maybe I could serve them. And I asked them questions and I found out what was going on in their life. And that doesn't mean for 6 months I'm finding out, their dog and their kids' names and where they went to high school. And 6 months later, I still don't know if they want to join my business. No. It was done in a very short time frame, all in the matter of, a few days. But because I did that, they came back to me. And so I think that's the good thing, is that's being taught more and more on social media, because people are realizing that spam just doesn't work, because that was kind of like the big craze for a while, was spamming everybody. But, as far as messenger versus phone versus text, we've seen it built every way under the sun, and still today it's built every way under the sun. There's a leader in a very big company, and all he does is like video messaging, which to me is gut-wrenching. Like I can't imagine spending all that time videoing someone, but like a lot of people appreciate it. So he built his business that way. Another leader uses audio messaging. So that they can hear his voice, which I think is a great way to do on Messenger. Another one is strictly gets them on the phone and recruits them that way. So I think as long as you have the idea that you are talking to the individual and you're getting over your fear of asking them for the sale, then it really doesn't matter how you do that, as long as, you are willing to get on the phone if that's what it takes. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Does anyone ask questions? Yeah, go for it, Andrea.
I do. Since we're talking about prospecting, just more specifically, when you talk about reaching out to people, you mentioned that you were strictly reaching out for the business. Now, can you give us the verbiage or something that you used? Just curious. Was it, hi, would you like, obviously you knew them and you personalized it, but was it, are you looking to make $500 a month, or are you looking to earn additional income? What was that specific thing that you said, because you were talking to people about joining? Was it joining what you're doing, or were you specifically talking about a dollar figure or earning income every time you talk to people?
So, first of all, let me just say that Ray talks to people a little differently than I do, which goes to show there's not one way to make $1 million, right? You can make it all different kinds of ways. So I know he trains a way that's very effective and more to the point, and many people have created great results from that. And how does that go, Ray? He's right next to me.
Hey guys.
I'm bringing him in. Two for tonight.
So yeah, just and you know, if it's a cold stranger, it's, hey, I know we don't know each other. I see that you're in Spokane, Washington. I'm looking to expand my business. We're looking to expand our business there. Would you be open to take a look at what we're doing, make some extra money? If not, no big deal.
Did you catch that?
Yeah. And
Okay.
then Ray actually revamped all of our scripts. So you guys, that's the script that for us, because we a lot of times leave the product. I'm not sure if you're open to looking at the products that I've been using, but it's done X, Y, Z, and you can also generate some extra income with it. So that's the one that's in our script. Yeah.
And people are having great success with that. So I think that's very effective. The way that I personally did it is I reached out and I gave them a compliment of why I was reaching out to them specifically. So I let them know. And for me, it started with who I was reaching out to. So a lot of people think it's all in what you say, which is definitely a part of it, right? But it was all on who I was reaching out to. I spent a good amount of time looking up the specific type of person that I wanted to reach out to before I even messaged them. And so, you know, there's something to be said for numbers. You know, you can reach out to thousands of people and some are bound to join, absolutely. But for me, I just looked at, okay, who's somebody who's a leader in my company and what are the characteristics that they possess? And I looked at a leader in my company that I liked. Like there were some that I was like, oh, you know, I don't know if I'd really want to work with that person. But there were many that I was like, yeah, I jive with them. I would do really great with working with somebody like that. So I looked at their characteristics and then I found where they would hang out, like what fan pages, what books would they read, what celebrities would they like, what groups would they be a part of. And that's where I looked for people to message and get to know. And so that was really step one. And then I would tell them specifically why I reached out to them. So for Ray, in that instance, it's because you're in this area and I'm expanding in this area. For me, it might have been because I see that you have a lot of friends. You're always taking pictures with your friends, and you have so many different, you know, clubs and charities that you're involved in. And I was just curious and wanted to ask, what do you do? Like, what is it that you do currently? That was really my main opener. And I would find out what their occupation was, whether they were happy with it or not. So a lot of times they would say like, oh, I'm in real estate or whatever. And I would say, oh, well, how is that going for you? How long have you been involved in that? And if they said a long time, which they usually did, I would say, well, then you must love it, right? And they would usually say something along the lines of, yeah, it's okay, but. And that's when I would bring up my opportunity and see if they were open to taking a look. Just very similar verbiage to what Ray mentioned, but you know, my closing line, so to speak, was based on what you've shared with me. You may want to take a look at what I do. If you'd like, I could send you some more information, and if not, no big deal. And that was pretty much it. And then I would schedule a time to send them the information, get them on the phone, and eventually, you know, get them into the business. And so I think people overcomplicate it in this way because there are so many different things that you can say. The most important concept that you grasp is that you are reaching out to them specifically as an individual, number one. There's something that you like about them, but there's something in it for them as well. And if they take a look or they don't, it's no big deal. Like, you always have to give them an out. And I think if you follow those guidelines, you'll be okay.
That's awesome. Any other questions on that topic before we? Great. Well, and Jessica, I was looking at the last question, and it's kind of, you addressed it in the first. So do you want to tackle maybe a couple of the screenshots that a few of the teammates sent over?
Sure. Let me pull these up here. Okay, so for
And what I can do too is, 'cause I have them here, is I can stick them in the chat so people can see them. And that
okay,
way,
I was going to ask how you want me to
do you
look
want
at.
to? Yeah, I'll stick the first like convo 1 and convo 2. I'll just stick that in the chat.
Okay. Okay, so combo 1, very simple. And let me know when that's in the chat so I can.
It's in the chat.
Okay. So everyone take a minute to address this. And first of all, for those of you who submitted these, every time I do conversation reviews, I say thank you because you're being vulnerable and letting me review these. I know sometimes that's not the easiest thing, but hopefully you'll grow from it. So with this one, I just have to ask, do you really talk that way? It seems we're both super busy and it's difficult to connect. You have watched the videos. You want to get on this product and see what happens. You said you wanted to get on a healthier path and asked what I recommend. It sounds like a script. And I just encourage you when you're messaging to sound like you. Sound like how you would talk. Use slang. Use contractions. I know that sounds weird, but I see so many messages with people that are like, have you gotten a chance to take a look? And if you do not, then do not worry about it. And it's like, that's not how you talk. You say don't. You say won't. You say, you know, hey, what's up? So I would just take a look at this message and ask yourself, is this the way that you talk to people on a daily basis? If it is the way you talk to people on a daily basis, then I would encourage you to get a little more lackadaisical with your speech and with the way that you talk. But I'm going to guess that you're a pretty easygoing person that wouldn't normally conversate with people that way. And so really, I would change that. I like how you said that you have 10 minutes at 4 or 5 p.m. I would maybe give specific times just to make it a little easier for people. Like I have a 3:15 open and a 4:15 open. If they've expressed interest, which one would you like? I get what you're trying to do here when you say like, hey, you said you wanted to get healthier and here's what I recommend kind of thing. But what this message sounds like, if you actually read it back, is that you're kind of throwing it back in their face in not the nicest way. Like, hey, you said you wanted to do this, and so let's schedule a time. You said you want to get on this product and see what happens. It's almost like you're trying to NLP, like transition them into persuasion and what you want them to do. So my suggestion would be to relax and just talk like you talk. Give them specific times of when to follow up, or when they can get with you to follow up on the videos. And when I'm going for the close, that's when I usually try to transition it to the phone, because most people, and even though this is for the products, if they're not like, hey, I want the product, can you send me the link kind of thing, then I try to transition it to the phone, even if it's just text, like, hey, I can text you the link, or we can chat if you have any questions. And then at the end, you say it takes 7 to 10 days for your order to ship, and then we'll begin 2020 on a healthier journey. I would always end with a question so that you keep the conversation open and going, because right now it's just like, all right, what are they supposed to respond to this besides the timing? Like I would end with, hey, do you have any questions here? Or is there anything additional that I can help you with before we jump on the phone? Like I always try and keep the conversation going. Or maybe the question is, do you feel that now is a good time to join? That type of thing. Or do you feel like now is a good time to start this health journey that you're on? So hopefully that helps with conversation number 1. The person that wrote this, you don't have to say who you are, but if you want to, do they have any questions? I don't know if they're on this call or what, but hopefully that helped.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Great. Do you want to go to number 2? And yeah, and the person's on the phone, so they want to ask questions. And maybe when we open it up too at the we have a few minutes at the end.
Sure. Okay.
Awesome.
So conversation number 2. I mean, I don't really know the context of this one, but this seems pretty good. You asked, how soon can I follow up with you? That's fine. I would give one time slot. That's maybe a little tweak I would make. So you say I'm available tomorrow 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I would have left it at that. Or Friday, you say Friday 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. question mark. Like it sounds a little like you're desperately trying to get them in a time slot. So maybe I would have left it at one time frame. But I think this overall looks pretty good.
Yes, I have a question with the time frame because I give windows. Just because if I'm available for a window, I give a window, and sometimes I'll give a couple windows. So I'm curious if you say like I'm available tomorrow at 8 a.m. You know, does that work for you? Do you also then ask a question? If not, do you want to suggest another time?
Yeah, I think that's okay. But when you suggest multiple times, it's almost like you're assuming that they're not going to be available when you want them to be. And so instead, just try on assuming that they're going to be available as soon as you want them to be, like tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. or whatever. And then see how that serves you. Because if you give multiple times, many times, the prospect's going to pick like the farthest time away. Number one, I don't know if you've experienced that, but that's kind of what I experienced is they're going to pick, like you say, I have tomorrow at 8 a.m. or I have Thursday at 3 p.m. They're going to say Thursday at 3 p.m. And then you've gotten a couple of days and you're out of sync, and then they're regretting that they even said they would talk to you. So I just like giving the soonest time. And then, like you said, you know, giving them the option of, you know, if that doesn't work, just let me know. But that's what I have right now, kind of thing.
Perfect. Any other questions around that, ladies? Because then I know I said that. Oh, go for it, Andrea. Yeah.
So I always love hearing the verbiage of, so somebody says, yes, I'm interested, and you set the time. What is the first thing you say to them when you get them on the phone?
So it depends on if I'm setting the time to send them the video or they've already watched the video.
They've already watched
the video. So if they've already watched the video, I would just say, hey, you know, did you watch the video? Would be the first thing I would ask them to make sure that they actually watched it. Oh, awesome. I like the question. What'd you like best? Like, or what was your favorite part? You know, however you kind of sound in your own natural habitat, so to speak. What'd you like best? What was your favorite part? How did this look to you? How did it look to you? That kind of thing. Obviously, you know, it's a pretty standard thing. You never say, what'd you think? You never say that. I'm sure you guys have heard that a million times. But that would be the first thing I would say is like, did you watch the video? So just to reconfirm.
Awesome. And I know we had one other sort of string of conversations that I sent you in pictures. I don't know if I'll be able to share that through.
I got, let's see, one of them came up, the other two would not, but I'll just tackle this one. So I'll just read it.
Perfect.
It says, you don't have to stop your vitamin regimen. You can open the capsules and put the powders in them. And then this is circled with a question mark, this part. So I assume this is the question. The more you learn about the Shred and Juice Plus, I think you'll warm to the idea of releasing vitamins. Which to me, and I don't know the context of this, but to me, I'm reading this and I don't know what that means. So if I don't know what that means, it's probably okay to omit that from the conversation. Like, I never, unless asked about the product, a specific question, I never want to give more information than is needed. So the more you learn about the Shred and Juice Plus, I think you'll warm to the idea of releasing vitamins. So maybe in this previous conversation, you've talked about releasing vitamins, which I assume is like a vitamin release schedule.
Or like getting rid of multivitamins. Like oftentimes people will be on a multivitamin. We're saying like, you know, and yeah. I'm trying to see if there's a way I can bring them up, or yeah, it's hard because they were pictures.
Okay. Okay. So I'm, let's see, maybe I'm missing a few of these. I think I'm missing 2 other parts of this
Yeah,
conversation.
there was 3 pictures that were kind of inserted in the message. Let me see if I can pull up the message, because it will take 2 seconds. Let me just go to my sent items.
Because I'm guessing this person is saying, well, I already take vitamins. Is that kind of the context? I already take vitamins kind of thing?
Yeah, so I have them right here. So what I'll do is I'll screen share. If that
Oh,
works.
okay,
And then
perfect.
everyone can see okay, so here's the 3. Here they are in order. I think to your point, and because I think I saw a few of the other things. I don't believe the person asked the question, can this replace my vitamin? I don't think that was
Okay, so if that's the case, then this message to this person is way too much information. Like, they don't need to know that your cost is completely covered yet. They don't need to know that you earn a monthly paycheck and became a rep and it's a great perk but not a requirement. Like, they don't need to know any of that if that wasn't already addressed or already something that you were talking about previously. All you need to know is, what does this person want? What is going to help them the most? And how can I fulfill that purpose? So I think, especially
just if I can just kind of, guys, so I think it's the 3rd one. Sorry, that's my fault. I think the 3rd one. So if you don't mind me asking, how much do you spend on all the supplements monthly? I think she's asking how much do you spend on supplements monthly, and then she's saying my cost is completely covered. So maybe that transition you could give us some guidance with.
Got it. Okay. So still, to that point, there's way too much information given on here.
Mm-hmm.
Like releasing vitamins, like I didn't know what that meant. So I get what you're trying to do here, but that you earn a monthly paycheck, that you've become a rep and you don't have to be a rep, like none of that needs to be in there. I do think it's a good idea to say, hey, my cost is actually completely covered because I referred a few friends to the product. Definitely not a requirement. Like, that's fine to say, but all of these other things in there can completely be omitted. And just answer, what the prospect is asking, really. And then go right back to the question of, hey, does this sound like something you're ready to do? Or, is this, if you'd like, there's a great option to try X, Y, and Z. You can see how it works with your body, and hey, this is what it's done for me. Like, it's always good when you don't know how to respond to a question. It's always good to refer to stories, because, and especially on social media, like, you can find out a lot about a person based on their profile. So if you know that this person really struggles with energy, talk about a story about a person who struggled with energy, and a true story. Don't make it up, but talk about a person, whether in your company or your downline or your upline or whatever, that you saw that struggled with energy, and you saw them come out of it by doing X, Y, and Z, and it was really cool. Or maybe it's your own story. But if you can relate back to them in stories, it kind of takes you out of it, brings in a third party, and it's like, hey, it's not me. It's just how amazing the product is, or it's just this really cool story I saw. Which is why it's so important to plug into trainings like this and events, because the stories that you get out of those are gold for prospecting. They really are. So I don't know what background you have on this person, but and keep in mind too, like, if you are spending money on supplements and your cost is covered, you should tell them. Like, don't beat around the bush. I mean, she's asking a very good question. She's not saying, hey, is this a scam? That's not a good question. That's somebody that's probably not interested. She's asking a good question of somebody who is interested. So your prospect can smell out the BS. So yes, your cost is covered. That's great. But for someone who's just starting out, this is what it's going to be. And so just keep in mind that you're basically replacing a lot of your excess food or whatever that you're eating with a few healthy options. And so this is going to actually save you money in the long run, because you don't want to have, those medical bills and all that down the road kind of thing. So you can word it however you usually word it, but don't tell them there's not going to be a cost. If there is one, just, hey, you just have to refer a few people. And you can still say my cost is covered, but I would take out all that other stuff. Another option. So I gave you stories. I said that, you can tell them, or you can combat that with a question and bring it right back to them and say, well, what is your budget for taking monthly supplements? Do you take any right now? And see what they're already spending.
Yeah, I love that. Yep. Great. Does anyone have, I know I don't want to honor your time.
I have one more question, if I could just throw it in there.
Sure.
If you sign on someone that's excited, you've talked to them, they've signed on, and then they haven't engaged, and you've reached out and you've, invited to events, and you want them to get the bigger picture and they haven't, and you reach out, what is any verbiage that would use for someone who signed on and wanted something out of this and then they didn't move forward?
I would just move on to greener pastures and just let them know that you love them, you're here for them, you support them when they're ready to make that transition. But you can't force anybody to do something they're not ready to do. And that's just coming from a mistake that we've made personally. And so that's why we know, there's no, I guess if you're super close with someone, you can kind of finagle them into coming to an event, or, have those magic words to say that, will enable them to go. But at the end of the day, if it's not of their own volition and their own will, you're going to have a hard time down the road keeping that person involved. And so maybe it's just not the right time for them. They are where they are, and just respect and love them for that place, because you don't want to make them feel like, oh, you're not doing what you said you would do, or you're not at the rank I thought you'd be at, so I'm just going to kind of put you on the back burner, and then they'll quit, right? You don't want that. But I would respect and love them where they're at, and just let them know you're here for them when they're ready. But, you're going to focus on the people that are going to be there and show up, and that's that.
Does anyone else have any
Thank you.
questions?
I got one.
Go for it, Marla.
Since I've been doing the Blitz, I've been getting a lot of feedback, and I've been able to send out the videos. And after the videos, people are immediately jumping to what is the price. So I've been steering them then to my website so that they can go on and actually look at the price and what item they want. But they're still asking me about what is the price. So do I go to them? Do I get them to just call me on the phone? Because at the end of the day, I've been telling people to just, if they have questions, to call me on the phone so we can talk one-on-one. So do I get involved with telling them the actual price, or do I continue to insist that they call me on the phone so we can talk one-on-one? And I can be more explicit, because that's when I would actually try to introduce the business, whereas they could get a discount, or they can actually use the business to pay for their products. So where do I go from there?
I think you're trying to have a one size fits all for your prospect, and not everybody is the same. And so it's not either I get them all on the phone and I, introduce the business, which is a good strategy, right? Or do I send them to the website? I would ask them, what are they looking for specifically for the price of? What is their, what do they need most? Do they need energy? Do they need, to lose weight? Or do they feel crappy all day? What do they need the most? And then direct them based on that. Once you find that out, they may express, you may be able to express, hey, you can also get these free each and every month if you refer a few people. I don't know if you're interested in that, but I could talk to you about that if you want to jump on the phone real quick. And you know, it's done really well for me. And again, you can hit them with a story that relates to whatever they're going through. So I would not make it a one size fits all. And the problem with just sending them to the website is they're confusing. Like they don't know the products like you do in and out. They don't know what this is for or what that is for. So that will help you even more, is you can know, okay, they want just a multivitamin every day, or they want something to replace their multivitamin. Well, I know exactly what you need, and it's only X, Y, and Z. However, if you want to get it for free, let me know, and we can talk about how you can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Do we have time for one more?
Sure.
Okay. Do anyone else have any other question you want to, burning question? Okay. Well, yeah, I was going to stop the recording, but I'll keep the recording going as I say my huge thank you to Jessica. I know, you know, just with, again, you have a newborn and you have graciously given your time to us tonight. Thank you so much. 2 pages of notes. And I always chuckle to myself. That's why I was smiling earlier. I'm like 10 years in the business and I'm still learning.
Every day.
Every day. And so many takeaways from this training tonight. It's just been amazing. So I'm going to unmute the line so we can say